Well, that's the funny thing. When football came to an end for me, it was a rude awakening as far as, all right, Chance, what's next for you? What's your plans? You know what I'm saying? What do you like? What do you want? What do you enjoy? What do you want out of life? What's your purpose? I played football the vast majority of my life, and I played at the Division I level. And accountability was beaten to our heads. You know what I'm saying? For sure. If 14 Days in Beijing was a fictional story, I need an Oscar. You know what I'm saying? I should have got an award if that was a fictional story. To be able to create something like that, that's creative writing.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Strength Connection podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kurkowski. I'm so grateful for you joining me today. So in this episode, I connect with a young man with a truly remarkable story. Chancellor Jackson, aka Lucky Chance, joins me on the podcast today. So Chancellor is an author, coach, and he's the best-selling writer of the book 14 Days in Beijing, the story of how he spent 2 weeks incarcerated in China, not knowing how long he would be there, not knowing the language, and the deep mental and spiritual challenge he faced in this time. So the outlook Chancellor has towards life and from his experiences here are amazing. And it's one of those guys who he's really trying to make a difference with his story. So I appreciate you spending some time with me here. If you enjoy this episode, I hope you take a moment, give it a review wherever you're listening to it, and please share it with a friend. Help spread the message of strength. All right, well, we'll get right to Chancellor's episode. Thank you so much. And now let's get on with the show. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Chancellor, man, it's great to meet you. I know it's been a crazy day for you, so I appreciate you taking the time and jumping on, man.
For sure, man. This is probably the most positive thing I've had happen today. So it'll shift my energy. So I'm glad that we was able to get on this call. Sure.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, good. I'm glad hopefully we can just keep it rising up and up from there. So yeah. No, I appreciate it. I know we connected back and forth a couple of times through messages, and hearing, your story of your book, 14 Days in Beijing, which we're going to talk about. Really just powerful story, the work that you've gone through and the adversities and really kind of finding strength out of all this, I thought was so interesting. So I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing a little bit more of your story, man.
Appreciate you for having me. Appreciate everybody that's tuning in right now. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all, most important.
Yeah. Well, to kick it off, I want to ask you about your book. And I mean, really, it's called 14 Days in Beijing. This was about being really locked up in China in a time. I don't think a lot of people can really understand this from there. So we'll get deep into exactly what you've gone through. But before we do, I always am interested in kind of the origin story of how people get into wanting to be coaches, wanted to be into teaching and stuff. So what inspired you to want to get into really the world of coaching and teaching?
Well, that's the funny thing. When football came to an end for me, it was a rude awakening as far as, all right, Chance, what's next for you? What's your plans? You know what I'm saying? What do you like? What do you want? What do you enjoy? What do you want out of life? What's your purpose? You know what I'm saying? I couldn't answer any of those questions. I knew I needed to start somewhere. I have a lot of great skill sets as far as being coachable, being disciplined, hardworking, you know what I'm saying? Time-oriented, goal-oriented, and fast learners. Just all the skills I learned, I picked up from playing football. I'm like, okay, I got great skill sets. I just need somebody that's willing to bet on me and invest in me, and I can, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to return the investment 10 times forward. So I just started applying for jobs, mainly corporate positions, sales, marketing, management, that whole ordeal. I did this process for about 8 months straight, and I wasn't landing nothing. So then I was like, okay, I need to switch up this approach to my job searching. And that's when I came across the opportunity to teach English in China to children. Oh, wow. So I was like, okay, that sounds lit. You know what I mean? The requirements are very basic. Bachelor's degree, no matter what your degree is in, clean background, native English speaker. That's all they want.
Wow.
That's
okay.
Bet. I applied. Next thing I know, this is the first job tell me yes after 8 months of applying and interviewing. So that's how I ended up out there. And really, if you want to teach English abroad somewhere, it's really simple to do. It's not hard to do. Like I said, the requirements are, it don't take much, you know what I'm saying? So that's definitely something that you can there's a way you can get your foot in the door in regards to just teaching. If overseas is where you want to do it at. Coaching, I didn't start coaching until I got back to America.
Gotcha. Okay.
And really how I got into that, that's another crazy story. One of my partners, I had a little homie that stayed across the street from me. He went to Campbell High School just like I did. But he was still playing there. He was like, "Hey, bro, you should come up to the workouts. It's summertime. We work out over the summer. Come watch us work out." So I bet I'll come up there. Me just going up there, watching them work out, and you know what I'm saying, going over there with the DBs and coaching the DBs. It was just giving small points here and there to the DBs. Just for me doing that, that's how I ended up coaching.
Oh, beautiful.
At least coaching football. Yeah, so I just fell into that. Coaching life skills to at-risk teens. Pretty much once 14 days dropped, and I was getting all the success from that. And you know what I'm saying, one of my former track coaches has a nonprofit that he done had since 2005. Me and him collabed, and we was working with at-risk teens, which is teenagers from our county that we both came out of. And then with the coaching authors, well, of course, you know what I'm saying, I'm just publishing books left and right. And they're like, "Hey, but you dropping these books like you dropping mixtapes and albums and stuff." So
I love that, yeah.
How I go about, you know what I'm saying, what's the process, what's the sauce? So everything is just, I've just been falling into. Originally, I had no clue what I was going to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, like so many of us, right? That's just how it kind of, it's interesting though, like, you know, getting a job going over to China. I mean, that's a pretty big travel right there. Did you always want to kind of travel, or was that always kind of like a bug in your head, or was it just like, oh, this seems interesting, I'll just give this a shot? Well,
ironically, in the introduction of 14 Days to Beijing, I flashed back to a table conversation I'm having with my family at breakfast. My mother asked my brother and I, she said, "What's 3 places in the world that y'all want to go?" And I make sure that we go. First place I had in my mind was China. She looking at me like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? I'm like 7, 8 years old. She's just, "Why China? You so confident, so sure?" My only reasoning, that's where everything is made. That's what everything is made.
That's such a beautiful, logical answer. Yeah.
You look on the back of any product made in China, made in China. I'm like, came from just from my young mind. I'm like, everything is made from this one place. All right. So it's like they doing something right over there. They got something going on over there. Like, I'm just intrigued to see what this land looks like, because everything that we have comes from over there. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, yeah, that was my only reason
kind of
I wanted to go out there.
Little serendipitous kind of when an opportunity comes from there. That's crazy.
No, for real.
Okay, yeah.
Full circle.
All right. So when you go over there, so now, I mean, this book, as we said, I mean, I'll just give the brief synopsis for the listeners. This was, you were locked up for charges in there for 14 days, really way different than what you'd probably experience in, you know, culture of what we have here. And this is kind of a breakdown of every day of what happened in there. So if you can just kind of, in your words, like this book, kind of what happened in this situation? Like, what's this book really about?
Yeah, so I entered China on October 10th, 2018. I was supposed to do a year. That's how long my contract was. Fast forward 6 months to April 4th, 2019. That's when shit hits the fan. So I'm arrested for marijuana, possession of marijuana, 1.4 grams. And holding pretty much for like 14 hours that very first day, chapter 1. And then chapter 2, I moved to the actual jail where I was housed for the remainder of the time. And up until this point, I haven't received any information in regards to how long I'm gonna be here. I don't know how this jail process works. The rules of the jail, they ain't explained nothing to me. I ain't asking no questions either. Nobody knows I'm in this situation. It's not looking too good. You know what I'm saying? Here I'm in the actual facility. I'm locked up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 15 men to one cell, 9 wooden beds, 3 soups a day. And all I had was 1 Tupperware bowl and 1 plastic spoon, 14 days straight.
Oh my God.
First 3 days.
So you go in there and they don't tell you anything. Like, you're just in there.
I mean, soon as they was like, okay, once they, you know what I'm saying, they found all the weed and confiscated it, you know what I'm saying, they threw the cuffs on me. After them cuffs were thrown on me, information was non-existent from that point on. And I got arrested at like 11 o'clock that morning. So from the time the cuffs was thrown on me, absolutely no information. So I didn't start receiving information until day 4, and it wasn't even from anybody, any law enforcement whatsoever, none of the jail staff, none of that. I moved to a new cell with other English speakers, and I'm talking to them because everybody else knows their process. They know their situation, how long they're supposed to be there. I'm the only one that ain't been explained nothing to. So I'm asking them what's going on. So that's how I'm starting to connect the dots in regards to how this process works. But still, how long will I be here?
Right.
clock on the wall knows my future.
Oh
my freedom in his hands.
Yeah. What's going through your mind at the first like 24 hours in there? I'm sure it was kind of going in a bunch of different directions.
I mean, no, not really. It's just accountability.
What do you mean by that?
I'm in a communist country smoking weed. Who's in the wrong? I got to hold myself accountable. I can't sit here and who I'm going to be upset at? Me, if anything, but it is what it is. I made a choice. This shit done blew up in my face. Now I'm in this predicament. It is what it is. There's no point in crying over spilled milk. What the fuck needs to happen in order for me to get up out of here? That's how my mind is working.
Right.
What steps need, okay, you know what I'm saying? Dang, bro, I should have did that. Nah, it is what it is, bro. Ain't no, you know what I'm saying? Come on. So I'm just like, okay, what needs to take place? Well, first thing first, people got to realize I'm in here. And in order for that, I got to become missing on people's radar. All right, so I was supposed to meet up with some friends, ironically, a couple hours before I got arrested. So when I didn't show up to the event I was supposed to meet them at, I'm sure they called me and I didn't answer. Is that a red flag? Not really. Is it weird? Yes. But nothing to, you know what I'm saying, to drop everything and, what's going on? But I know, I was like, when I don't show up at work Saturday morning for my 8 o'clock class.
Up your back.
Yeah, I said, when I don't show up for work Saturday morning for my 8 o'clock class, hell is breaking loose. Because one, I got to find somebody to cover my class last minute. And one of the people I was going to meet at that event the day I got arrested, we work at the same school. We work at the same schools. So I was like, okay, she going to know like, when I don't show up for work, she going to be like, okay, something's wrong. Yeah. I don't know where he is. He been missing since Thursday. Here it is Saturday, and we still don't know where he at. Something's wrong.
That's a really strong mindset, Chancellor, right off the bat to kind of, hold yourself accountable on that. I think a lot of people in that position are like, would probably not be thinking that. Like, is that just kind of how you always were? Like you always knew to take accountability for it?
I played football vast majority of my life, and I played at the Division I level. And accountability was beaten to our heads. You know what I'm saying? For sure. So it's like, I always hold myself accountable. Whenever I find myself in a situation of misfortune or just unfortunate events, it's like, okay, accountability always plays a factor in the equation. Always. So it's like personal responsibility. So it's like, okay, was I doing right? Yeah. Was I doing right or was I doing wrong? You can't stack wrong on wrong and expect to do it. No, that's insanity. Yeah. That's insanity. To be quite frank. You know what I'm saying? So that's just.
It is, it's like, it's such a, we say that a lot. It's very easy to say that, I'm taking accountability for it. But then all of a sudden you're in a situation like this, which is like, oh my gosh, you have no idea what to do. Now all of a sudden you're really tested to see what is going on in your head, and to actually hold yourself in that position, I think that's the different type of strength that you see. It's like, that's where, right? Like those adversities come up when it's like, all right, like you want to preach this is what you say you're about. Now, okay, let's test this and see. And you kind of come out from there. So now like the fourth day you said like now you're in with people who actually like speak the language and stuff like that. Is that when things started to change? Did they give you kind of like some information when you got there? Well, what was going on?
Just the new cellmates I got. Now I just know how the process works. Like far as the release process, I learned that, and how the jail operates. Like, because at first I'm like, bro, I don't know how this jail even operates. Like, how do we even get toiletries? I ain't got no toothbrush. No, I'm like, I ain't got nothing. So once I'm amongst the new cellmates, now I can figure all those little things out. But still, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. Still. Yeah.
So this is like, so now you're a few days in. So what's the kind of the rest of the process like? Like, was it just kind of buying your time until you got out in the next like days afterwards, or did kind of more stuff happen there?
Yeah. So on the 7th day, full weekend, I was able to make contact with people back home. I was able to use my phone. That's because we met with the immigration dude, and he was telling us to get on our phones and find people that can buy us a plane ticket for whatever our time to be released is. So that's when I was able to get on my phone and make contact with the outside world. I was only able to speak to like a few people. I spoke to my mom on the phone and my brother, and that conversation was probably like maybe like 5-7 minutes. And then after that, no more communication with anybody. for the remainder of the time. On the 10th day, I met with the U.S. Embassy, but it really wasn't nothing they could do. You know what I'm saying? It was just pretty much a break for us, an opportunity for us to get out the cell again. So that's pretty much all that was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was just in there just sitting, waking up every day, hoping to hear some information, going to bed disappointed.
Mm. So then the 14th day now, then you get out from there. You didn't know that you were getting out on that day? Was it just a surprise for you?
It was just calculated. Well, it was a surprise, but then again, it wasn't surprising because even though I didn't receive any information from the law enforcement in regards to how my process works or will work out and how it will play out, I received about 3 different signs from the spiritual realm, the higher powers, the ancestors, the gods, whatever term you want to use. I received 3 signs. 2 of them was letting me know how long I was going to be there. And the third one was telling me how my release was going to be. And 2 of them came in dreams. And the first sign was in the very first chapter when they weighed the weed up in front of me. But I had a dream letting me know how my release would be. And it was dead ass. I'm talking about spot on. So when they called my name, I'm just so blown away by how in tune I was with my subconscious and my ancestors to have a dream like that and then see it play out exactly the way I dreamt it. I'm still in shock. And these folks kept calling me to come on. It's time for you to go home, but I'm just so blown away just by how in tune I was that I'm just froze. Like I'm just and just straight all in disbelief. Then I snapped back into reality, like, oh, it's time for me to go. Let me get on the back.
Wow.
Here. So yeah.
Damn, that's like, did you ever have any experience like that before? Or was that kind of the first time that something popped up like that? Yeah.
That was the very first time.
Oh my gosh. Was it a feeling when you get something like that? Was it a feeling of almost calming or was it a feeling of almost confusion? Is this really right or so? Or what was kind of the feeling behind that?
What they call it, epiphany. It was just like, you ever seen that show That's So Raven? With Raven Simone? They came on Disney Channel.
Long time ago, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when she's paused, she have her visions and she come back into reality and then that's what it felt like. He called my name. I'm just like, and I just stopped and paused, but I flashed back to that dream and I'm replaying the whole dream. And now I come back to reality. He's sitting there steadily waving me to come on. I'm just like, whoa. Whoa, like what?
Yeah,
hey.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, this is the purest form. Like, I'm like, this is how most humans, how we should be.
Yeah.
So in tune with, you know what I'm saying, our God-like selves, and you know what I'm saying, the gods within us and of course, the Most High himself and the ancestors, the ones that came before us. I feel like this is how we all should be. You know what I'm saying, in some form or fashion. Yeah. So it was powerful. It was really powerful, honestly.
Yeah. Were you trying like at all, even like into your subconscious to almost try and like get an answer to this at all? Or did it just kind of come out of nowhere?
It just came. Both of the dreams are so random.
That's so crazy. So random. You know, it's interesting. It's, you know, I think many people can resonate with maybe an experience that they had of doing that. Like I know, like I got a message like that when I knew I had to leave a job a while ago. Like it was like in a point when I was just really in a terrible spot. And it was like, I need that sign. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then all of a sudden I got a message out that was telling me exactly what I needed to do. It was almost like you start laughing from there. And it's like, you don't like, it's almost like you're finally in a position almost where it's like, okay, now you can actually hear this. And then it comes to you. You never know when that's going to happen. And it's hard to almost like, I can like, even like see it as you speak. Like sometimes it's hard to describe to another person how you feel in that moment in there. But I think it's 100% real. I can totally understand that. That's crazy.
On me. Can't make this up, bro.
Yeah. So did you ponder that a lot, like after you got like out, or was it just kind of like you were just happy, all right, I'm just getting back into my life now and just kind of getting going, or did this kind of thought stick with you?
It wasn't until I wrote the book and then I started editing the book. So me reading you know what I'm saying, constantly reading it, trying to perfect it. That's when I really was able to pinpoint all the signs that I received. Originally when them signs was delivered, clean over my head. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Clean over my head. But aside from two dreams, like those were pretty, you know what I'm saying, in my face. But all in all, it wasn't until I was like editing the book and I was like, okay, wow, bro, I was really in tune with, you know what I'm saying, the spiritual realm, and like my ancestors had my back the whole time. Little did I know, you know what I'm saying, even though it looks ugly,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, it sounds ugly the way I'm describing it. I was like, man, I was in good hands pretty much the whole time. Even though I didn't receive any information, I did the shortest amount of time out of everybody I was locked up with. Out of every other foreigner I was locked up with, I did the shortest amount of time. And everybody else knew everything. They knew all their information. I was the only one that didn't.
That's great. Was that just like a miscommunication on their part? Is not?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
It just makes the story. It makes the story what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just how it was for me going through it. That's exactly how it was.
Okay. Yeah. It is. It's a crazy experience, you know, Chance, to go through that. And it, you know, I guess the revelations that you get from that, I mean, is something that, sometimes it's just those things that you need to hear at the right moments to go through. Then now you turn this into a book, a really successful book in here. What was the inspiration to write on this? Was this something that came from you? Did someone else encourage you, being like, you should put this into a story? Or?
Yeah. One of my good friends that I grew up with, he was a published author before he graduated high school in 2014. So he was like, hey, bro, you should write a book about it. I'm like, damn, that's a good ass idea. I'm like, that's a good ass idea. Where do I start? I have no clue. But he took my phone, went in my notes. He threw me another alley-oop. He went in my notes. He gave me like a 5-layer outline, very, very brief. Opening scene, following scene, climax. You know what I'm saying? It was very brief like that. And I just went in and started filling it in on my notes. And then once I realized, okay, well, you really writing. Let me move this to Google Doc. Now I'm typing it on my laptop. I wrote the whole story about 4 months.
4 months. Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you go through it there too, it's probably so fresh in your head. You can just get it right out and just get all that down.
Well, I ain't started writing the book until July. So like I came back home in April. I ain't started writing until July. So it was just sitting on my brain for those couple months. And then I finally put it on paper. But just the ability to be able to retain all those details. I'm talking about the conversations that I had. All those different individuals. It was mind-boggling to me. Just I was like, well, I can't believe I was able to retain this much detail of this experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I knew I'm supposed to tell the story.
Yeah. It's amazing how much you can retain when you get back into that flow state from there. Just put yourself in that mindset. Yeah. So, that's cool. So yeah, so your friend really kind of helped you just create this outline, kind of get the framework behind it, and then you really filled in the gaps, and then all of a sudden it was just pretty smooth, just rolling through.
I took it and ran with it.
That's awesome, man.
Took it and ran with it.
Okay, good. Did you ever think before like you were going to write something at all, or like did you ever think like being an author was something that you wanted to do, or is it just
No. I just
because you wrote a couple more books after this now. I mean, you're writing consistently now.
Everything that I'm doing right now. 5 years ago, bro, you couldn't have told me I'll be doing it. Like I said, football came to end, Chance. What's next?
Yeah.
I have no clue. So everything I'm doing right now, bro, you couldn't have told me. You couldn't tell me.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me at all, man. It's divine timing. Honestly, you know what I'm saying? That's just finding my purpose. That's all it is. You know what I mean? And trying new things. That's the biggest thing. Not being afraid of trying new things, stepping outside my comfort zone.
Yeah. That's so. It's really fascinating. Was it difficult at all to kind of go back and remember these things when you were in there? Like, was it hard, like emotionally, just to kind of go back in this space, or did it just like, all right, I need to get this message out, and just kind of hammered through and got it down on page?
Yeah, because ironically, when I was in the first precinct, I'm sitting there in the handcuffs, sitting in the chair, and I was like, man, just reflecting on everything that just transpired. I'm like, damn, I'm really getting arrested in China. Nobody knows what's happened to me. I can't communicate with these people. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know I'm gonna be good when it's all said and done. I know I'm gonna be good. I told myself, I said, take note of every minor detail, because it's going to be a great story to tell once you're out of this predicament. And 2, enjoy this high one last time. We don't know what the hell can happen to us, boy. So just hang on tight, my boy, for real. Stay down. So once I got out and just telling the story verbally to close friends and family, just seeing this is the whole body language and energy shift just from me telling the story. I'm like, it's going to be crazy. And I started writing it. And as I'm writing, I'm kicking with people. I'm like, hey, bro, just read a couple sentences or read it like this page or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And seeing them, I'm talking about they're glued, eyes glued to the screen. Like they not talking no more. They sitting up, sitting back. Like I'm like, okay, yeah, it's gonna go crazy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh yeah, this gonna go crazy. Oh yeah, I knew it then.
Did you think afterwards, because I know you've written a couple of dramas afterwards and now kind of going into, I believe, the fictional realm from there. Once you were like, did you think that this was going to be like, I'm going to write this book and that's going to be it? Or did you know like, okay, I really enjoy this process and I want to keep writing after this?
I was like, 14 days is going to be it, but I don't see myself writing no other story. I didn't see that. But the same partner that told me to write 14 days, when 14 days was going crazy, he was like, hey, bro, you need to write the romance. So you need to write the romance story. I'm like, I don't know about all that. And as time progressed, females that was reading 14 days, they was like, okay, you talk about this. You had a girlfriend during the time you was locked up. You talk about her throughout the book, but you don't get to talk to her at all. You know what I'm saying? Throughout the story. Then you get out and that's just the end. So what happened with you and her, how that story play out? You know what I'm saying? The females, they want to know the tea about what happened to Shorty. So that was another indicator to write the book. But it wasn't until I came across this statistic just showing best-selling genres. I saw romance at the top. As soon as I saw that, that's all the motivation I needed after that. I was just like, okay. Yeah, so I hit my partner up and I said, hey, bro, I need another outline. He sent me another outline. I wrote that romance saga about 2.5 weeks.
Really? Okay. You know, it's so crazy because like with a lot of people with books, I think it's such a long-based process that you get down, and it seems like you figured out a formula of like, all right, get the outline, and then all of a sudden just things roll. So
the outline and all I'm doing is telling a story, a true story from beginning to end. It ain't like I'm pulling all this information out of my ass and this is everything that's happened verbatim. Everything is completely true. Only thing that's fictitious is I changed the people's names. That's the only fictitious part about this story. Everything, I'm telling y'all verbatim what happened. Anybody can do that.
Okay.
Anybody can do that. You just tell me what happened, start to finish.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny because it's such a cliche for people in writing of write what you know. And it's like, if you're writing about what you know, like it just starts to flow from there. And I think a lot of people, we get always so bogged down about the things we don't know. And we think we need to know so many different things in order to get it down. It's like, no, if you just start putting down the words on paper of what you do know, then all of a sudden things start to flow.
I mean, what I get from a lot of people automatically, as soon as I start talking about writing, they automatically equate it to some school shit. They think we in class and this assignment the professor didn't get. No, don't think about it like that. As soon as you start thinking about it like an assignment, it's gonna turn you off from it. It's not that. Don't think about it like that. It's yours.
Yeah.
You can write this thing in straight Ebonics if you want to and publish it. You can do that. You know what I'm saying? It's yours. So don't think about it like it got to be perfected and I got to have MLA format. Citation. No, I ain't got to do all that. But no, it ain't like that. But
that's funny. Yeah. Did you ever read the book by Steven Pressfield, The War of Art on Writing? Really interesting book. And he talks, it's a short book. He kind of just breaks down just the ways of writing. He's written some really great fiction like Gates of Fire and I forget some of the other books, but wrote a couple nonfiction books. And he talks about in writing the resistance. It's like, you're going to sit down and like sometimes you are going to have that block. Just start putting words down on paper and then it will start to flow. So it's kind of like just pushing against the block and then it eventually just opens up, for you. And it seems like you found that same flow. And I know you coach with authors and people writing too. Do you see people like, are they struggling when they come in of like, what do I write about? Or is it more like they don't know how to format it properly? Like, how's the process of teaching people in writing go for you?
So for the most part, they already have an idea of the story that they want to write, or the story's already been written. They just don't know how to go about publishing. But for the most part, they at the very beginning. Like, I got this idea of the story I want to write. I just don't know how to go about doing it. So I just make it simple. Okay, if it's a true story, all right, boom. So the same thing my partner did for me. I go in there, we create an outline, and it is okay. So what? From your best memory, what happened first? All right, boom. What happened next? Boom. Okay, what happened next? And that's all we're doing. And now go back to the outline. What happened first? Start there and expand on it. All right. Once you finish telling that part, go to the very next line. Okay, this happened next. Then expand on it. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about indents and grammar and read a bit. Don't worry about none of that. Send it, write that thing like you sending a long ass text message to one of your friends. Write it just like that. If I could show y'all the original version of 14 Days, I'm talking about it was just one big ass block. And ain't no paragraphs. It's just one page. It's just one big block. Then I just get in there on paper. Then once you get on paper, then you go back from the very beginning. And that's when you start to do all the edits and tweaks, the small tweaks and edits. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying sentence break in and paragraph break. Then you start doing all of that. And just keep doing it just step by step like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't try, you try to edit while you're writing, hold yourself up. You know what I'm saying? Just write it. Get it on paper. Get it on paper. That's what, just get it on paper.
That's so funny. That's so funny with writing of just like I think we get into that struggle sometimes thinking like it needs to be like the perfect done document the first time you write it through, when the reality is just get all that stuff just out of your head first. And then really like writing comes down to like the editing process afterwards. Like, all right, now let's start adjusting, but just
that's the work.
Get it out of your mind first. Like that's kind of clearing the cobwebs out. All right, now let's come in with a fine tooth comb and we start tweaking it up a bit. That's
when the real work come into play. Trying to getting it perfect for publishing. That's where all the real. It took me 4 months to write 14 days. Additional 6 months just to get it ready for publishing. It took me 2.5 weeks to write the romance saga. Damn near, like, you know what I'm saying? I wrote the thing in February. Yeah, pretty much another 6. Nah, even longer than that. Yeah, because I ain't dropped You Love, You Learn till November. So I wrote the romance saga in February. Ain't dropped the first book till November. So that's just because it just all that time just perfecting it, and then last minute changes and all that. So it's like the most work gonna come during the editing phase and make sure it's perfect. That's the most work. Writing it,
I think that's a really just important lesson, I think, for people to hear who want to get into writing. And if they have a story that they have is like, the main piece of getting in is going to be the perfecting it. But the writing piece, that should be like the part that's joyful. That's the love part. Like that's just, you're getting all the fun out. Like, oh, cool. Let's bring it this way. Let's bring it in this direction. Just get all that stuff out.
And it is fun. Like you just said, okay, based on this chapter that I just edited and how, you know what I'm saying, what I read, what do I want to name this chapter? Okay, I'm gonna name this chapter. It's like you creating an album. You know what I'm saying? For real. Like those that make music, it's like dropping a debut album. No crap. You see your table of contents, that's like your track list right there. That's exactly how I felt. Getting the cover art done. It felt just like dropping out studio album.
I think that's so interesting. Really, like with every art, like any type of art that you have there, it's like it's just putting that stuff with it, whether it's music, whether it's writing, it could be like painting. It's like just getting that stuff down first. That's the love part. That's when all the ideas come out. And I followed this book, The Artist's Way, which is Julia Cameron's book about writing, and her whole thing is about like morning pages. Like you just write, just stream of consciousness just out, and you do 3 pages. Just get it. And the first time you try and write 3 pages longhand, like you get through like a paragraph and you're like, oh my gosh, I have nothing else to freaking say in my head. And you just got to keep going and just get through that. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now ideas start coming up. But it's interesting, like seeing, people like musicians and stuff where they're just like fucking around with just different tunes, just different chords. All right, let me try this. Let's try this. And then all of a sudden gold happens. And we only see the finished product. Like we only see like when everything's perfected. So we're like, oh, this is how do they do this? They just spit this out. It's like, no, this was shit like 2 weeks ago. Like now they just build it back up. It's always crazy just to see it, because we only see as consumers of stuff, these finished products, not realizing that all the art is just all comes from the editing process. That's so interesting.
Me, you know what I'm saying? It's, people be overthinking. That's really what it be. They just be overthinking it and just think that, you know what I'm saying, it's just this godlike esoteric ability that only the special among us will ever be able to achieve or witness, or, you know what I'm saying? I was like, nah, bro, I'm telling y'all a true story. Now, if 14 Days in Beijing was a fictional story, I need an Oscar. You know what I'm saying? I should have got an award if that was a fictional story. To be able to create something like that, that's creative writing. That's a lot more challenging. Now, that's far, far, far more challenging. Man, because now we talking about you got to develop the whole story now and the characters versus me. These true people, and these are their true personalities. I'm just displaying them or just describing them in the way that I perceive it. You know what I'm saying? Versus, okay, I want this character to be like this, and I want him to look like, you know,
right.
That is a lot more. That's a lot more work, man. Now that writing process for fictional, that's gonna be a little bit more tedious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Be a little bit more tedious.
Yeah. So maybe the avenue to really do that of, if you want to write more fiction and create these stories, is first to write an experience about what you know. You went through a crazy experience with this. It's like, hopefully not everybody has to go through that in order to get their story out, from there. But like writing, what you know, and just getting into that flow state, I'm sure that helped you a lot with now all the writing that you're doing, on like the romance drama stuff. So.
Oh yeah. And even the romance, that's still based on a true story as well. That's another thing. You can take an actual true story that you experienced and just get it on paper, and then when you edit it, bro, you can turn it completely fictitious. You can make the setting in a whole different dimension, planet. You can it's not even humans. That it can be. You can get as creative as you want to. Then that's a whole nother avenue. That's a whole nother way you can finesse. You know what I'm saying? Write a true story and then just turn it fictitious. There's so many different ways you can do it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot simpler than people think. That's just what people just be thinking. Just overthinking. That's all it be. People just be overthinking. So just being able to break it down. Even though I'm breaking it down just like this, I've done this to plenty of people. And they still looking at me like, man, this dude crazy. You know what I'm saying? He's still making it sound easy, but once they really start practicing what I'm giving them, well, I see exactly what you was talking about. Well, next thing I'm talking about, they flying through. I'm talking about they killing stuff. I'm like, it's hard for me to keep up with the edits just because they flying. They putting the story on paper so fast. I'm like, damn, well, okay, you done tapped in, huh? Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Yeah, you thought it was hard. Yeah, I told you.
Well, I think maybe like the overthinking that comes from that too. It's like you're trying to control every situation. It's like when you just sometimes just let it flow and let it go. And situations like you went through, Chancellor, there, it's like you don't have control over that. It's like sometimes like that's where the stories come out. If you try and control everything that's going on, you're going to drive yourself freaking crazy of doing that. Right. And that's where it's like, just let the stories kind of take place, from there. The work that you're doing like with at-risk teens and stuff like that in the community, do you share this story with them of the book and everything like that?
We use it for it's pretty much the premise. That's what we use to deliver our life skills. So it's pretty much we working with teenagers that have been locked up or that had runners with the law, either with drugs or just doing some hot shit, just being hot heads, you know what I'm saying, doing some crazy stuff. And the judge's like, all right, you can do time or you can join this program to rehabilitate yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to do jail time. You just pretty much like probation, essentially. You got to take this class. So that's when we came into play. And we knew 14 Days in Beijing would be a great book just because, one, vast majority of y'all been in trouble for drugs. Well, let's learn about Lucky and his experience getting in trouble for drugs that y'all, you know what I'm saying, y'all can relate to. But let's compare and contrast the differences between how Lucky handled the situation. What was his mindset like versus when everything hit the fan, and how was his perspective? Now let's go back and piggyback off yours. Let's compare yours. When you got in your trouble, what was your mindset like? You know what I'm saying? How can you make moving forward? Most important, what do you need? What did you take away from the whole experience? What did you take away? How can you better yourself moving forward? You know what I'm saying? And just based on certain elements throughout the book, that's what the discussion topic was. So we got racism and racism, because of course you're gonna experience that. And people, we working with a lot of Mexican kids, Black kids, so that's something that y'all gonna deal with in y'all everyday life. So let's compare and contrast that. Okay, let's see how Lucky handled his experience dealing with this racism and ignorance. Okay, let's figure back to the experience that you may have had. How did you handle that situation? You know what I'm saying? All right, now, if this situation does ever occur again, what would be the most appropriate way to handle that situation? You know what I'm saying? That's just one example. So racism was one. Interviews, if you're being interrogated or, you know what I'm saying, in an interview, knowing how to answer questions. You know what I'm saying? They're going to ask you a bunch, but knowing how to answer is the most important piece. You know what I'm saying? When they went to elaborate thoroughly, and when they just give exactly what they give them exactly what they asked for. That was another one of the topics. And pretty much I was just going through the book myself and just like, okay, we can talk about this. Boom. We can talk about this. Boom. We can talk about this. And so that's pretty much all we was doing. Then the kids loved it. They loved the story because like one,
it resonate with them pretty quickly.
They can relate to it. You know what I'm saying? And it's me. And it's like, okay, this is the person that wrote the book. Oh, this your story? This okay, yeah, that's a whole different. They looking at me completely different now. You know what I'm saying? It's like they got a little bit more of a deep reference for me now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm young too. I'm only 20. I'm 26. I was 24, 25, and all this when I was 23 and 22 when I was in China. So you know what I'm saying? So I ain't too far older than them cats. So essentially, I'm like a big cousin. Essentially, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
Well, man, I mean, you took a lot of these experiences, a lot of stuff, and turned this into some serious success and a lot of, I mean, just a great message out for, for people. I mean, we go through adversity. I mean, life's chaotic. Shit happens with stuff like that. Thanks. And I mean, the message that you said about, okay, I'm taking accountability for this. What can I do, better from there? And I think that's such a lesson of strength that, we can all take from that. Of just like, it's, hey, like, you can bitch about this, you can complain about this, you can do it. And it could be, and you might absolutely be right. Still, you're in the same position. What can I do better? And then all of a sudden you get these freaking revelations that pop up out of it. And it's like, that freaking blew my mind that like you got those dreams in there. I mean, that's freaking so crazy. Seriously.
Man.
Yeah, I'm sure it still pops in your head every once in a while. You're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
It's worldly, man. It's all a part of the journey, man. Mm-hmm. So just taking my experiences and being able to share them with the world and encourage the world, teach the world, you know what I'm saying, enlighten them essentially, you know what I'm saying, and just how to handle certain situations when shit just gets hectic. When adversity sets in. Adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman to herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So what's the goal now? Are you going to continue with the fictional writing? Do you want to go into like nonfiction work? Are you going to do more with like the at-risk teens? Kind of what's the focus now?
Really continue to build I have my own publishing company, Collabing Publications, LLC, which all my books are published through. So continue to grow that. I'm already working with authors right now. I got one in particular he pretty much at the Victory Lap publishing his, and they pretty much all gonna be up underneath my umbrella, the Collabing Publication umbrella. They gonna have all the rights and ownership to their stories. I just like, it's published under me though. You know what I'm saying? But you got everything else, just so I can continue to grow this brand and reach more people that aspire to be authors or have stories and just don't know how to go about telling them. And continue to just hustle and motivate. So that's one of my businesses. I also have a car rental business. To continue to grow that. Gonna get into the Airbnbs, grow that, just create multiple sources of passive income.
Oh, there you go.
Where I'm at with it. You know what I'm saying? And most important, traveling again. I ain't left America since I came back in this month. So I'm itching to go back out, you know what I'm saying, overseas. So yeah, man, just hustle and motivate. That's it, man. That's it.
That's great, man. Well, dude, like I really appreciate you just jumping on and just telling me a little bit more about this story, man. I think it's like, seriously, it's your energy is incredibly motivational, and I love the work that you're doing. And I hope this book just continues to inspire people, through your experience. So I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
I appreciate you for having me and allowing me to display myself.
No doubt.
And everything I got going on.
Yeah. If people want to check out the book, want to check out more of the work that you're doing, what's the best place that we can direct them?
Oh yeah, for sure. So to find me on any of my social medias or any previous interviews, my website, Google ChancellorKJackson.com. Go to Google and type my name in, Chancellor K. Jackson. Everything you need as far as contact, you'll find it. 14 Days of Beijing or any of, just Google 14 Days of Beijing. Yeah. It's available on Amazon as well as my website. My other two books, You Love, You Learn, and Real Love Never Dies, also available on Amazon and my website. And also I have the audiobook for 14 Days of Beijing rolling out on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, YouTube. Yeah. So all those different platforms, I got the audiobook, and I'm reading it myself. So
I know. You got a great reading voice there. I listened to the first few chapters on SoundCloud, so it's awesome, dude. So, well, hey man, really appreciate it. Thanks so much, listeners. If you want to follow Chancellor, you know where to do so. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some great value here. And if you like this episode, please drop a comment and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does more to build the show than you can imagine. And do not forget to check out and join the Strength Connection Facebook group. In this group, I share the biggest takeaways and lessons from these amazing conversations, as well as training and strength tips for pursuing mastery and fulfillment in life. This group is filled with individuals looking to take full control over their strength, and it's the perfect space to explore new ideas and to share your journey. And you'll also get exclusive access to these Strength Connection Mastery seminars. It's a deep dive into the physical, mental, and spiritual training that you can begin using immediately. So do not wait, go now. Seriously, go. All right, much love to you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.